All right, guys, we want to real briefly go over some of the apps that you'll probably need this year in my class in particular. And I've got a bunch on my screen. You definitely don't need to have all these. But the ones you want to make sure you got, you definitely want Canvas, okay? Pages, and I know that you were having some problems downloading that. You want Dropbox, okay, and Notability. You'll notice that I have those down on my bottom key toolpad there. And you'll definitely want to make sure that you have at least, if you don't get Dropbox, you can get Google Drive, and that's fine. You need someplace to store your files because obviously there's no inherent file management in iOS, and so Dropbox, like for me, is essentially where I'm going to keep all of my files. And so this, for me, is the Windows sort of thing that you would do. And let me show you a couple of quick things in Dropbox here. So if you're looking at Dropbox, I've got all my files here. You'll notice that I've got a folder here called Chem Videos, and I'm going to share that folder with you guys at some point. And all the videos for the year are in that. This is also useful because this tells you how you can save stuff to your iPad so that you don't have to have the Wi-Fi. So let's say that at the end of this week you want to pull up the significant figures video, which is 1.2. You pull it up and you're like, I want to watch that, and I know I'm not going to have Wi-Fi. If you look right up here, okay, there's a little star button right there. And if you press that star, it fills itself in. Okay? And when you fill that in, it's gonna basically save it to your device so that you can pretty much always play it. And so if you notice over here, over to the left here, I actually have a star already on video 1.1. And so even if my Wi-Fi wasn't connected, I could jump over there and that video is still going to be there, still going to be playable on my iPad so that I can use that. But of course, the real benefit to having Dropbox is that you can store any of your stuff in here. So all of your massive amounts of files that you're going to have over the course of the year, Dropbox gives you a place to save them. Now you don't have to keep them there, but I think that in general is one of the best places. Google Drive also works great. You can use Box.net. I use Dropbox because it's integrated with a lot of iOS apps. So a couple of quick hit things. When you go into Canvas, okay, you're going to get things that are going to look a little different than me. So there's going to be a new Canvas app in a couple of weeks, but until you get that, let's say that you went into announcements, you're in your Honors Chem 1 class, and you looked at all your announcements. You can see there's a vodcast announcement up there so that you can watch the first video. But let's say that you didn't get your flip parent letter yet. Okay, so you pull that up. You want to click on the actual PDF for it itself. So right here, there's a little PDF link, and then you're going to see tons of these this year. You're going to do that. You're going to give it a second, and Canvas is going to pull up the PDF. This will be true in whatever app you're in. Now, if it pulls it up in the browser, you're good to go. If you pull it up in Canvas, it hasn't done that yet. And so you want to hit this button down here in the bottom. Okay? So this button down here. This button is always important in iOS. That means I want to send it somewhere else. So in this case, I'm going to open it in Safari. Okay, which of course is sort of your default web browser there. So we open that up. And then you'll notice that there's a little, if you just put your finger over here, there's going to pop up a couple of buttons. And you want to open that. Okay, so it says open in. I'm going to open that in Notability. Now, why do I want to open that in Notability? Well, again, if you've got Notability, you're going to hit Create New Note. Okay, go ahead and hit those pages, because once you hit that and it pulls this in, you now have the ability to write all over this document. In fact, this is what you're going to do with most worksheets. And so let's say that you pulled up this letter, you and your parents pulled this up, and you could just pull it up straight on your iPad, and you could write your name in there, okay? And by the way, if you hit this down at the very bottom here, if you hit this little guy, it'll zoom in for you, which is pretty cool. And then you can just drag this zoom box wherever you want to drag it, and then you can write down on the bottom part. Actually, it would help if you didn't have a giant pen like I have right here. So you can adjust that size. And so now I can go ahead and write my name on here or whatever. And this is how a lot of you all are probably going to choose to do your worksheets and stuff this year, is just to write directly on your iPad. Now, I think if you're going to do that, you probably want to go ahead and get a stylus or something like that, because it makes it a lot easier. But what you can do then is you could do all of that and then just be able to submit that to me. So if you hit this button over here, again, remember that icon, anytime you see it, is a send to. And so I could then send that to Dropbox, so I could save it, or Google Drive, or I could just email it. So you could say, hey, I'm going to email this to Mr. Arnold, and you're going to send it there, and that way I'll have it. A handy thing to do would be able to send it to Dropbox, or if you come down here, it says open in another app. Okay, and then I hit open in, and you'll see there that I could open that in Canvas, or I could open it in any of these other apps. You'll see that I've got 2 Canvas apps. This is actually the new one that'll be out in a couple of weeks for you. It's on, you can actually pull this new one up if you search in the App Store for Canvas and then switch to iPhone apps. They just don't have the iPad version open yet. Okay, and so that's how you would be able to then submit assignments. So I mentioned before in class that what you can do is a lot of times you could write on the desk, or you could write on paper if you wanted to, but that I want things only submitted to me digitally. So let me tell you the app that is really useful for that. That is this guy down here. That is CamScanner. This is a free app. Go to the App Store, download CamScanner. What CamScanner does is pretty cool. If you click on it, it pops up, and basically it's a picture-taking app. Let me get rid of this red here. But what's really cool about it is that it allows you to just take pictures of whatever and then convert them immediately to PDF. So I'm going to grab my handy-dandy little iPad here. And if you hit the bottom down here, okay, this little part, the camera thing, then that's going to allow you to take pictures. And so I'm not going to try to take a real super great picture right now, but I just want to show you how it works. So I'm going to take a picture of my lab safety test, and of course you can back it up and you can, try to get the whole thing in there or whatever. Take that picture, hit done. If you got multiple pages, you can take multiple pictures, that's fine. Give it a second, it's going to load it up. And what's really cool here is that you can actually alter where the margins are so that it will keystone it and sort of bring it up for you. Now, I didn't take a real great picture, but had I gone out a little bit, so let's say I was like, okay, well, I can only see through number 7 here. So I'm going to move that up so that I can just see that part of the page. And you hit next, and it's basically going to crop that and pull it up so that you can see that specific part. You'll see that it clears it up and it looks really good. Hit save on that guy, and that way I've got that assignment. Now, if I click back on that assignment, you'll notice that down here at the bottom again, the share icon is down there. And if I hit that share icon on it, whoops, hold on, I'm in the wrong one. That doesn't matter. You have an open in, and again, just like before, I could open that in Canvas, I could send it to Dropbox, I could send it to Notability so I would work on it. That's the kind of thing that you want to be able to do. So that's just a real brief way to be able to get all of those different documents that you're going to need. As always, if you need some help in class, of course, you're more than welcome to do that, and I'll certainly help you out. Another thing when you get pages is that if you get pages here and you click on it and you create a document, let me give it a second to load up. Pages takes a little bit. But you could basically take pictures of things, just like I just did with CamScanner. But let's say that you had a bunch of them, you were out in the field, and you weren't sure if you were going to use them as a PDF. You just take pictures like you normally would, and then you can upload them from your camera roll. So I would just hit my camera roll there, and I say, okay, I've got another picture I want to put in. Boom, it's in there. And then, of course, you can do your normal typing and all of that jazz, just like you would normally do in a document. Okay, so that is going to be super useful to you as well. And that's how we're going to do a lot of lab reports. So take pictures, and then you'll type your word processing stuff in there and send it that way. And then if you go back there, what you should be able to do, sorry guys, is if you click on that, you'll see that you're able to share that out as well. And so you could email that to yourself. You could open it in another app. Again, it sort of depends on what sort of thing it might want you to. Usually PDF is the format that we want to use. You're going to pick the app, and just like everything else, send it to Dropbox, send it to Canvas so that you can turn that assignment in. Okay, that's just a real brief bit on some of the apps that you want to use and how to use them. We'll talk a lot more about this kind of thing in class, and there's certainly a lot more apps like Explain Everything and iMotion HD that we'll be using later this year. HyperCam is something that you'll want to get, but we'll talk about all that stuff later. What I wanted to do today was make sure that you know how to get your assignments up to where they need to be. Thanks, guys.